What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another video game music reaction. And we're going to listen to a tune from Donkey Kong Country 1994. I have reacted to a tune from this soundtrack a couple years ago, Aquatic Ambience, an incredible ambient track by lead composer David Wise. I also reacted to a tune from the second game in the series, Diddy Kong's Quest, a track called Stickerbush Symphony, also by David Wise, an absolutely brilliant tune. But I haven't reacted to anything from the soundtrack since then, and it's especially good timing because I'm about to finish my playthrough here in my YouTube gaming videos of Super Mario World. All I have left is Bowser's Castle. I'll do that in the next installment, then I'll be done. And I have a few other video game playthroughs that are current or ongoing, but once I finish Super Mario World, the one I'm going to start in its place, or following it, is Donkey Kong Country. Again, 1994, it's a brilliant game, the score is fantastic, and one of the reasons I thought of doing that recently when I was thinking about finishing Super Mario World is because I thought of the level Snow Barrel Blast, and that's the first level where you hear this darkly atmospheric tune called Northern Hemispheres. Now, David Wise is the lead composer, at least on the first couple games. I think there's 3, maybe even more, but I didn't play the third one much at all. I had both of the first 2, and of those, I played the first one particularly a lot. So the reason I mention that is because I think at least for a few tracks, there were other composers who were actually the main writers of a few of the different tracks, and that is the case, I think, here. Eveline Novakovic, I'm not sure how the surname is said, but yes, I think she is the lead composer of Northern Hemispheres, though David Wise may also have been involved. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to label it Eveline Novakovic as the producer, or Novakovic. And yes, this level, Snow Barrel Blast, where you first encounter this tune, I love the way it plays out, and I think they specifically timed the track to fit with what happens, which is to say, you start the level, you're in snow, you can see snowy, icy mountains in the background, so it's very much like an Arctic climate, but it's still sunny out when you start the level, and then with about 30-45 seconds in, it starts to get cloudy and darker skies, and within another minute or so of that, it starts snowing, and eventually it's a full-blown blizzard. And the way the track proceeds is, again, like perfectly in sync with the way that the skies and the weather changes as you go deeper and deeper into the level. Now, I do think you hear it in 1 or 2 other levels after that, but to me, it's specifically the track that plays from Snow Barrel Blast because of the way it's so greatly synced with the visuals. So it's a brilliant level, it's a brilliant tune. I'm looking forward to doing the playthrough of Donkey Kong Country in the coming months, and indeed, given that we're heading into winter, or at least if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, or Hemispheres, it should be perfectly timed to the point where, as I'm going through those levels, it'll be, November leading into December, and so on. In any case, let's give it a listen. This is Eveline Novakovic maybe, and perhaps in conjunction with David Wise, I'm not sure, but the tune is Northern Hemispheres, and it's from Donkey Kong Country 1994. So it goes twice around and then it fades. But yeah, it's incredible. Now, when you play the level Snow Barrel Blast, there's a lot going on, including these barrels, fittingly, that you get into and they rotate and you have to shoot yourself out of them at certain angles, and if you get it wrong, you hit one of the enemies or you know, go down into the chasm and you die. So yeah, there's a lot of like precision gameplay required. So when you're playing it, you know, you either have to kind of sit still or, you know, wait and just kind of take in the music, or you're so involved in aerodynamics and precision jumps and so on that it's hard to pay attention. But that's one of the great things about video game soundtracks, which, you know, I think in the earliest days it wasn't really, you know, it was like, oh, well, you know, these are games, it's not like a movie or like whatever. And thankfully, I think in part because in Japan they were a thing earlier than they were over here. But I love that now, you know, some tracks, they get performed by orchestras, and, you know, there's a lot more attention paid to the quality of video game soundtracks and tunes, even those going back to the 80s and 90s, and it's lovely that they get a bit more mainstream love and attention now. And again, shout out to David Wise, whose compositions on these games are unreal. Shout out to Eveline Novakovic, who made one of the most beautifully and also mysteriously dark ambient tracks in the entire soundtrack, and, you know, video game music from the 90s, or the 16-bit era as it might be called, out there. Because honestly, this is a tune I'll hold up against pretty much any others from the era, including excellent tracks like Aquatic Ambience or Stickerbush Symphony. So yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant and perfectly fitting tune to the atmosphere. When I thought of it recently, it made me decide to follow up my Super Mario World playthrough with a Donkey Kong Country playthrough. So that will be coming soon. Keep an eye out. And for all those of you who follow my other video game playthroughs, I'm lagging on a couple of them. I still need to go through 150cc of Super Mario Kart. I still need to finish Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2, and Road Rash 2 is ongoing, and Secret of Monkey Island is ongoing. So I have lots of things going on. Shining Force CD is still ongoing. But yes, my plan is to add Donkey Kong Country to the mix. In any case, let me know what you think of the tune. I'll see you for the next one. Peace.